It's so slow.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's do the countdown. 5,
Yeah.
4,
3,
If my internet
2,
connects.
1, 5.
Because I'm not seeing. We could be live, and I don't even know. Oh,
We
here
are.
we go.
Yeah,
we
we are
live. Okay.
We're live.
Seconds.
Welcome
Yes.
to the Groomer's Cut.
Looks like
can
we've
see
been
our
live for a
countdown,
little
so.
bit. So, hey guys,
Yeah.
welcome. Sorry,
26 minutes.
we are live. I have bad internet service, so I'm hoping.
Oh, no,
She's
there
hoping
she
that
goes.
she'll go in and out, and then we'll just talk until she comes back.
Well,
And that's
until she
what we're
gets
going to
back.
do.
As long as we don't lose the feed.
Wait, is Dara in New
going?
Hampshire
What?
tonight? Is Dara in
No,
New
I think she's
Hampshire?
out of town.
Okay.
She's out of town,
Horses.
so.
Doing
Is it
horses.
wonky?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There.
it keeps cutting you in and out, Tara.
There it goes. Shoot. All right. Is that better? How about you guys just
Yeah.
go? Because it's given you, so you guys go.
All right. So let's rock
We're
and roll.
doing cats tonight.
Last time we did double coats, and today we're going to start in on our feline information. And the lovely Melissa Conti-Diener from theoilygroomer.com is going to be leading us into this wonderful topic.
Well,
Take it
we
away,
lost Tara
Melissa.
again. Well, since we don't have a set topic tonight, I think that I want to be able to really, both of you guys do cats as well. So
Yes.
I really want you to be able to contribute to the conversation as
And
well.
I used to breed and show Himalayans. So
Well,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
So that's, that is valuable information that you have to also share, Jennifer.
I
So
love cats.
me too, as evident by my leopard headband and my leopard glasses. It's my spirit animal. I just did the small mammal summit today. I did the feline skin and coat, and one of the hot button topics that I talked about was shaving, putting the cats into these lion clips when it's not a situational clip that needs to be done. It's not a clip that needs to be done. It's just strictly 100% for the aesthetic of the animal. People like the look, and so it was a lot of people kind of were a little bit on the fence about shaving, and they felt like, well, they should be able to shave if that's what the client wants. Why shouldn't they shave the cat? With you guys, because you guys are the skin and coat people to begin with. So for me, I really would like to be able to let them know, besides the fact that this is my personal opinion, and it is backed up by some scientific fact, that when we shave them super close and super short, that is detrimental to the skin and coat, whether it's a feline or a canine, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And let's even just stick to felines. Felines are the thinnest skinned creatures. They're
Right.
so absorbent. They have that dense coat is there to protect that thin skin. That's why it's so dense. Even on natural coated animals in the
thinner skin
wild.
even than dogs. I mean, dogs
Absolutely,
have thin
yes.
skin.
Yes,
Way
but cats have way
thick skin. But speaking of
cats have
cats,
way thinner.
Archimedes just chose this moment to make his
Of
appearance.
course,
in
I had to
honor of
close
you.
my door.
Yeah, there he
Hi,
is.
Archimedes.
That's Archimedes. He's my favorite boy.
And I have to say, we are making it very simple when we say this skin is thinner than the other skin or the other skin. We all have different thicknesses on our elbows
Right.
and knees and
Different
pads.
spots.
But overall, there are more points of absorption on a cat than there are on a dog, and more on a dog than on a human. Our barriers are similar, but they do work in different ways.
Right.
So cats, once you put something that's permeable on their skin, it's all the way in their body already. They're that delicate. A lot of people think that, the cat goes home from a lion clip and then it hides for a few days because it's embarrassed. Well, number one, probably. No, I'm just kidding. More than likely, it's taking in too much from the environment. It's absorbing everything it touches. Everything is new. It's lost some tactile function, so it can't make its way the same way through its environment. So it's a lot of information to have to calm down and process before that cat can come out and greet people again. So it's really important to try and leave that coat on a cat whenever possible.
Plus, all cats except Sphinx and Rex are double coated, which means that they have the
Absolutely.
same problems that a dog would have if you were shaved. So that means it has an outer, and I like to use this little hand analogy social with my clients. You have these guard hairs on top. They're more substantive primary hairs. They're slower growing, and then you have this insulating undercoat underneath, right?
Yes,
And
all those long hairs.
and you know they grow at two different rates too. And when you shave cats, you always see this. They come back patchy. They come back fuzzy. The undercoat, the guard hair doesn't come back as well.
Yeah.
Well, and
the people
also
that-
we
yeah, the
shorten that cycle. We shorten
Yes.
that sloughing off cycle by shaving that cat. We shorten that by up to 5 days, so it makes it happen even faster, and therefore it makes them shed more and slough off more skin, and that's what causes the allergies is that dander and not the fur. They're not allergic to the actual fur. They're allergic to that. It's FEL, feel D, the letter D1. That is the protein in their saliva and in their urine that we as human beings are allergic to. So
I'm not allergic to cats in any way. So is everybody?
It's not
Not everybody
single
is.
human, but people that are susceptible, that feel like, oh, I'm near a cat and I get sometimes I'll groom a cat and it'll make my eyes itchy or my nose itchy. It'll depend on the breed, but it just depends. But when people say they get an allergic reaction, that's what their body is responding to, are those proteins. They're not responding to the actual hair coat. They're responding to those proteins in the saliva.
Proteins that are on the hair that have been licked there by the tongue of the cat. Or if they're outdoor cats, or even if they're indoor cats, and humans should waft pollen and things into the household. Those pollens are proteins, and they also stick to the outer guard hairs of the cat, the dog, your pants, your hair.
Yes,
and that is
your
a cause for allergic reactions.
So it's the hair is there for a reason. And it is, I think that's my biggest issue is that a lot of us, especially as younger groomers, until we really start to get into skin and coat, because we're not really exposed to it very much unless we put ourselves into that educational lane, I want to know about this. So without doing that, we're not really exposed a lot to it. So we don't really look at it as an organ. It's the same as the heart or the lungs or any other, the liver or any other organ. It has a function and a purpose. And we wouldn't say, gee, can we just remove my cat's heart? I'd rather him just not even bother having that. It's, I think he'll look cuter if he has no heart.
And its skin isn't just another organ; it's the most important of all the organs. Just as it is on us, it's as important. Yes. It's the most important organ on any creature that has skin, because it is the it's the filter for environmental toxins. It stores nutrients. It's hydration. It's it's. There's 14 things that skin does, and they're all
saran
vital.
wrap covering your avocado to keep it fresh.
Yes, exactly.
You can live without all the organs and bones in your legs. You can live without all the organs and bones in your arms. You can just be, but you cannot live without your skin or without a big piece of it. I don't remember the percentage, but there's an actual percentage of skin. If you lose it, you'll perish
You'll die.
because you can't recover. You can't recover. You'll get infected quickly. All your nerve endings are exposed.
And
Skin
this is what got me so interested in just skin and coat to begin with was
Yeah.
as I think I was 16 and my dad was burned in an industrial accident, 90% of his body.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
and so he had to have skin grafts. And
Wow.
they used pig skin. And
They
I
use
mean,
pig hearts now.
yep, they use pig hearts now.
Yeah.
And so he had literally had these big across the tops of his thighs, these big sections about yay big that had no skin at all. And when they were prepping that, they wrapped it in the saran wrap. And then he went in for the graft surgery and they grafted that pig skin on there. And I watched that and watched how he had to take care of it with a shark oil and vitamin E and all this stuff. And it just intrigued me so much. And I talked to his actual doctor, and the doctor said to me, if we aren't able to graft this, he will die because he had to have so many skin grafts. You know, your father will not be able to survive. So these surgeries are life-saving. And so when I tell groomers, you really should rethink and only shave when it's the only humane thing you can do, and you have to balance out that humanity over the vanity of making it look a certain way.
But remember that when cats have one of those mats that are just, it's not common. It's not
absolutely.
Brush outable.
That's why I say situational.
You can do the same thing. I have never, and I'm going to defer to you two, but in 40 years of grooming and much, and doing cats, sort of not, it's maybe, 5% of my business, but it's been a consistent piece over the years. And I have never seen a pelted cat. I have seen this sort of a tortoise shell thing that will happen over the back of a really old cat that cannot clean itself, and it becomes it's not really a pelt like the dog hair that is growing up and it hits resistance, and so it turns sideways and it locks, into a sheet. It's just more like mats that are really, really hard. But that's all
pelted in a cat, and simply because their musculature and bone structure move their body differently. But it's the same process.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yes.
And there are times that I've had to, take them down with a 10 blade and peel it back. But that's maybe that they were both the only time I've done it in the last 10 years is just twice, and both of them were 17-year-old cats that were found and rescued in horrible story situations. And the first thing you do then is try to grow it back as quick as you can. But it is really it's not hard to groom cats. It's so easy, and it's good money. It's a great business. There's a ton of cat owners out there that are looking for cat groomers. It's such a great business to do. And I have found that other than those 2 tortoiseshell jobs that I have had to do in my life, I've never had to do anything more than just a little, like I find a little rock hard spot and I'll just, take the 10 blade to that, but keep the hair intact around it. Sometimes I've had to go as bad as taking off the whole groin, but I've never, ever, 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 other than those 2 tortoiseshell ancient cats that were extremely neglected and had that hard outer shell to their backs, I've never had to shave the torso of a cat. You just don't have to. You just don't need to. You soak them in conditioner and, shave an armpit maybe. And
most of the time. But if they are medically compromised or if they're very ancient,
Thank
sometimes
you.
it is really good to keep them in a 4 or 2 guard. Just because of maintenance, they can't clean themselves.
They can't clean
anymore.
themselves,
Yeah,
right.
But there is a medical issue. Why not? And you want them to at least have a quality of life. And dematting is not in the cards.
It's usually not an
but
option.
neither is shaving. So if you want to get them to that nice 1 inch of fur for protection and for warmth, because they become skin and bones after a while.
Yes.
Right.
You know, if they get really elderly. So you just want to keep that hair on there and then have them come regularly just to maintain that length so that they
Exactly.
don't get matted and they don't have, you know, litter and poop stuck to their feet hair and, you know, all that ridiculousness. They need to be maintained.
Yeah.
So,
And
But I think most
that's a big
people
part of it.
do line clips routinely.
right.
And I think that one of the messages we're trying to say is that that's not good for the cat, and that's
It's not the best practice, but you can do a lion clip and make it look cute, but you don't have to use a 10 blade and you don't have to use it in reverse.
Exactly.
You can use a 2-guard comb, you know, and take it down that short, you know, you're still leaving that much hair on there. And it's not going to look like that crushed smooth velvet, you know, but if that's what you want to look at, then get a Sphinx.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I that's my biggest thing is that it's like people that come to us and want their double coated dog shaved down and they want to argue with you or groom other groomers that get mad when we say don't shave a double coated breed. And then they say, well, I do this because of this or that. And you know what? There's always situational reasoning, you know, to do things. And if it's for the humanity, you know, of the animal, like you're trying to do this to do it the most compassionately to free them from whatever they're suffering from, then that's one thing. But if you're just doing it because that's the haircut, the actual, just the aesthetic,
The look that you're going for.
then I think
I won't do that.
I think that that's just not fair to the animal because it's like, you know, taking a person and taking off all their clothes and then just shoving them out the door.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you hide? I certainly would.
I actually think that it's a real easy standard to set, which is if the cat can no longer clean itself and it's older, then the standard is that you're going to do more when the cat can do less. And I really believe that that is the only
Absolutely.
Those two tortoiseshell hard shell things that I had to shave off were both on. One of them, I will tell you, it's an interesting story. One of them is a 17-year-old cat who came to me because she belonged to a very famous journalist, and I don't have permission to say her name, but she's a nationally known person in the news media who died and had left a $10,000 estate for the care of her cat. And but the cat is 17, and by the time that it got to its new home, it just had this rock hard, clump on a solid clump on its back. So, you know, I definitely very carefully and very slowly worked it off and set up the next month. Already there's a good quarter-inch of hair there. It's wonderful to see. And the cat is so happy and so much more healthy. But it is... it's almost never going to be that bad for most groomers. And hopefully all the groomers that are going to take on cats are going to do it in a way that is going to encourage people to find a way to live with and protect and work for that natural coat, which is so important to them. And I think people don't bathe their cats enough.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you.
Just keeping them clean.
Right. Yeah. It's just, that I think that that's something that as groomers overall that we need to just as feline groomers overall, we really need to reiterate that to our clients and just, let them know the benefits of a good bath and brush out for these animals on a routine basis, that these things are they aid in helping that skin stay supple and stay, on the right path of the shedding cycles, and it keeps things the way it should be, a homeostasis, for that skin, and I think
do you find that the long-haired cats can't groom themselves naturally the way that a short-haired cat can? Do you find that does it just matter by the individual cat, or Because I've always wondered, I feel like
personal
90% of my cat clients are long-haired cats, right?
Right. And the thing is that my personal opinion is that when a cat grooms itself, yes, it's doing what is innate to being a feline. You know, there's a reason why they do that, to spread that saliva around. It helps move the sebum, and it also helps keep them warm. Okay.
Really?
So yes, it is a way for them to conduct heat. And so it's never going to be clean like getting a bath clean and getting dried and brushed out. So even though I don't advocate for shaving just for the haircut, the aesthetic look, I advocate shaving absolutely when they, when they are matted or they have disease, what I call situational, but I think that they need to be bathed and cleaned on a regular basis to help them maintain. That's why most cats that we see that are feral cats look mangy. They look like, because they can't really truly clean their coats, And then,
that's a really interesting point. I didn't really think about the fact that they just lift themselves off. They're not really getting themselves clean. They're just they're
just ingesting toxins from their own coat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, and so
that's amazing.
I feel like my job as a holistic feline groomer is to help reduce that for them, is to help them and to remove a lot of that debris and dander and to comb through. And if you have them on a good cycle, like I said, then you maintain that homeostasis. You are working in a cycle when you're working through the shedding stages, through the seasonal things. You're keeping that coat hydrated. I had a question today asking, do you have to moisturize? Do you have to condition? And I said, absolutely. With a cat especially, because cats live in a state of dehydration primarily because they get so much water, their water intake from their food, and primarily house cats eat kibble. And that's why they don't drink a lot.
Wet food twice a day.
Right. But, a lot of people don't feed, wet. They just feed kibble. And so, their coats and their skin tend to lack that luster. They have sebum production problems because obviously you need to be well hydrated in order to produce the oils you need for the skin and coat.
And what is it that about cats and the oils along the spine? So many times I've had people ask me about this kind of, even after a good bath and condition and good grooming, that there's a sort of a greasiness to that hair along along the jack area, the torso, the center of the spine. Is there a natural? I've heard that. I had one person tell me that they thought that was where the sebum sort of is originating and spreading from, and that it should be, even after a bath and condition, that would not be unusual for them to feel a little greasier there? Or is that just that individual cat's genetics, or what is it?
I think it may be the cat's genetics, or it may be that particular cat is in some sort of disease, like it has some sort of a health issue.
And don't forget, you may be needing a tweak on your technique of bathing a cat. A lot of times, maybe you don't use enough water, or you don't dilute your shampoo, or don't use enough shampoo diluted in water. You're only getting the surface, and you're not really scrubbing down into the hair shaft.
I'm a cat in the bucket person. I don't know if you guys use the bucket method, but I think Terry DiMarino mentioned this once. I take one of those 5-gallon painter buckets because cats love that sort of closed-in feeling.
Yeah, I like to use the litter. I like a litter pan. Like a little higher wall litter pan. Sometimes they like that.
Having them in a normal bathtub where their arms and legs are akimbo, they don't feel as secure, and they get more stressed. And you set them down in a nice, warm, soapy bucket, and they usually just very much relax and kind of,
Oh.
And that way you can soak them in the water, which is what I'm doing, 5 to 10 full minutes of them just soaking in the warm, soapy water. And but I think, Michelle, you might be right. I might not be using enough shampoo in the bucket.
Yeah.
And if you have a greasy coat to begin with, normally what you would see in a cat is it's super greasy near the skin and then super dry on the ends. And what's happening is the hair itself is dry. That cat needs more hydration than less. What happens is the outer hair dries out, so it Christmas trees out like this, and the oil cannot travel past that. It gets stuck on those, instead of having a smooth cuticle base to smooth itself over. And the cat probably can't reach those areas very well to release that oil out, especially on the genetically manufactured kitties, the different breed types that we maintain in a breed. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that. So I always would do my degreasing technique, which is to push oil and collagen into the greasy coat dry before bathing, because that loosens up all that old rancid oil that's hardened basically on the hairs. It loosens it up, makes it slippery smooth. A really good oil for that is emu oil.
I was going to ask you, what's a good oil for cats? Yeah.
Emu oil, and also now it slipped my mind. Ginkgo oil. Ginkgo oil and emu oil and also camellia oil can also be really nice. Oil acts as a solvent to that other oil.
Yes.
So you want it to have
the oil.
Yeah, you want it to have a similar viscosity of that cat's sebum. If you use a heavier oil like coconut oil, that's very clogging to the pore. It's too heavy and it will just lay on the surface. And then you're going to spend time trying to get the coconut oil out of the hair. So just, oils do have a different viscosity. They have a different rinse time. They just have different, textures. So you just have to match it to the oil that you're trying to soften.
Right. Yeah. I think that, saying my cat doesn't need a bath because it self-grooms is kind of a misnomer.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that, I have a short-haired cat and then I have a long-hair cat. And so my long-hair cat requires far more work than my short-hair cat does. Although they both, my black short hair, I can bathe and he's perfectly fine for bathing. And he actually is okay if I keep the hair, handheld hair dryer on low. But if I use the high force, it scares the living heck out of him, and he.
I never use.
Yeah.
Can we all just agree never to use a forced dryer on a cat?
I don't. Yeah, it's not my particular thing to do, but
I like an adjustable dryer so that you can control the flow. Because some cats love it. Some cats will say, "Yeah, spray me with air. It feels fantastic." And then other ones are like, "You're going to kill me. This is death." So you just have to be judicious.
The ones that have the adjustable knob, I have used those. I worked at a kennel, Park Avenue, and they have a cattery. And so I would do quite a few of their kitties. And I actually loved that. And I actually went out and bought myself one for my home studio. So that is akin to using a handheld where you can put it on high, low, warm or hot.
I think the best cat dryer that I've ever found on the planet is the Does dryer. If you guys have seen it, it's like a white box, and it's. I think it was designed originally for human beautician use, but it has both a stand for the table and it has a wall attachment. But it's just a white square, and it's got a nice manipulatable hose, and it does high, medium, low fan, high, medium, low heat. It's just and you can just gently. Put a nice gentle. It's soundless. It's fantastic.
That is one of the quietest. Another dryer that I like that is has a little bit more force than the Does dryer, Does dryer is the Easy Groom little box adjustable dryer. Okay. It heats up on its own, so there's no heat. It doesn't get hot, so your hand is burning off, but you can absolutely adjust that flow from just a breath to a gale. And
I have the little Chris Christensen one that's very similar to that one.
Yeah.
That does that same kind of thing. And I love that. I refer to it as my cat dryer.
Right,
Yes.
right. So, I mean, there are options out there for people who
Right.
are thinking about doing cats or wanting to have new tools for their cat use and
Right.
cat
I
grooming.
do think that one of the best things that's happened to me in decades of cat grooming as part of my larger work has been the using of a bucket to
Yeah.
keep them enclosed. Don't bathe them in a regular dog sink or tub, and have the water, at a nice lukewarm temperature, already soapy, already there, maybe halfway full. You set them down in it, depending on how large the cat is, and then they can find the bottom. They feel very relaxed and safe,
Right.
and then they can soak in there for a long period of time, and you can kind of just run your hands over them and feel, identify any problem areas that you want to work on. I absolutely love the bucket bath. And then you lift them out, you have your conditioner ready to go, you rinse, and then you condition them, and then you wrap them in a towel. And then,
Now, do you rinse them in the bucket method also?
I rinse them out of the bucket. I have to take them out of the bucket to rinse them. And by that time, they're very relaxed and they're wet and they're very comfortable. And then I just set them aside. I have a, enclosed. It's like a human style bathtub, only it's made of stainless. And I just set them down in the bottom of that, right next to the bucket. I set the bucket up in the human stainless steel but human style bathtub with the 4 sides, and then which we also use for our micro bubbling. We use that same tub for, doing a submersive, where we fill up the tub with water and we do a micro bubble. But it's really great for them. And the cats, there's literally no cat that I have not been able to successfully groom that way, and then condition them afterwards. And then I use the swaddling with a towel. We call it a kitty burrito. We just take a nice big cloth cotton towel and just wrap them up like a little, little
yummy
face.
kitty.
Yeah. And they love it.
Works nicely, right? That works great for them. And so here's another thing that since all of us are seasoned groomers, more mature groomers.
Yeah, I've got the gray hairs.
How do we approach clients? Because we learn this stuff, most of us, through trial and error. And so we, as baby groomers or new groomers in the industry, we had to learn these things through trying it and seeing if it worked or not, and then being like, okay, I got to switch up this or change up that kind of stuff. How do we, as more mature groomers, how do we kind of educate or without offending somebody who's doing something that we know is not, you get the drift of what I'm saying? Like, how do you tell someone, hey, you know what, this is a better practice, or try this, it's different, but it may work better for, for the animal, and without being just, judgy or in that kind of, hey, I know everything and listen to me kind of headspace.
Well, hopefully,
question.
after August 1st, you'll be able to get the feline section that comes with the first edition of the best practices as decided by the Master Groomer Council of Best Practices. And that would be perfect to hand to your client or direct them to the website so they can get their own copy and see what exactly it is that the industry is telling each other, and then revealing that information also to the client. And that way everybody's on the same page, and there's going to be a rhyme and reason in there of why we're using these techniques over these techniques.
And, I have found that every moment that I have spent talking to my clients, educating them just on the things exactly like, Melissa, what you're talking about, explaining what sebum does and how it moves, and explaining why cat skin is different than dog skin, and explaining why I make all my cat people come at 7:45 a.m. so I can have the cat done by, the time that dogs are starting. It's got to be quiet, and it's all about managing the environment of the groom. And it's very different. You don't train a cat, you manage the exterior of the experience, and it's always quiet and safe and cuddly, but then you also explain to them why they cannot put, essential oils on their cat, and why they can't,
Right.
why there's, toxins, why you can't shave, all of those things. You just explain how the science. I have found most of them like, really? Oh, I didn't know that. That's so interesting. And I think you tell it not in a judgmental way, but just in a way of, hey, I love cats too, and
Right.
I'm real interested in the science. And would you like to know a little bit about why this works the way it does? And I find people very receptive and usually very excited to learn.
Absolutely. And if you find yourself short on things to say to your client and you don't know what to say, it's time to take a course. It's time to, look to your mentors and find the information so that when your client does ask you those questions, you'll be like, you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to get back to you because I'm taking a course on Friday on this very subject. But I'm going to get back to you. Let me take your email address and I'm going to email you some info because that's how you learn. If you don't know how to answer a question, learn about it. So the next time you get asked, you know. So,
and one of the things that, like those people that have Persians, for example, they have the brachycephalic faces, they have the problems in the folds the same way any other brachycephalic dog might have. Just explaining that to them, that this area needs different kind of attention, that they're that their nutritional needs, their need for moisture. I talk a lot about that, what you were saying, Melissa, about them needing to get most of their water from their diet. I have a lot of people that I sell in the cat department. I have a very small retail, but the only thing I sell for cats is wet food, because I just won't, I try to always have what I can recommend to people. You need to have a wet food diet.
Yeah, they are a very, very unique species, and I think that we do them a great disservice when we want them to fall under the category of everything that we know as dog groomers and expect the same motions to produce the same result, but on a different species.
I wish that I had designed my shop knowing the need to have a quiet, separate space for them. I did not do that. So that's
a lot, and that's what I mean. A lot of times we learn things far later in our career, and we come to these realizations, and we've educated ourselves about things, and so for me, I just always want to make sure that I present the information in a way that is not demeaning to someone who is doing something, because I always feel like, when you know better, you do better. So I just, I want to get that out there as far as, this is an evolutionary thing. Michelle didn't wake up yesterday and be like, I'm a master esthetician, and,
I think she may have.
Yeah, well,
I did not.
I've spent many a nights in a hotel room with Michelle, and she's woken up and said things, but that was never the one that I heard.
That's true.
I mean, these things come with time, and I also feel like as groomers, just as groomers in general, whether you groom cats or dogs, I think that we also have to always make individual allowances for that individual animal. So if I advocate for not shaving, and then you have to shave for whatever the reason is, stand up for yourself and understand that that you need to be able to say, I have to do this because this is what has to be done at this time in this moment. And then, like you said, Jennifer, then book something for the next appointment and build upon better grooming scheduling.
Yeah, like we don't ever want that to happen again. Right.
Exactly.
I would just like to encourage everybody that doesn't groom cats right now, but that is a groomer, to consider adding cat grooming to your business, because it is a delightful experience. It is, I think, the easiest grooming money I make. You can charge the same amount of money that you would spend on a pretty goodly, big doodle haircut. I mean, my cats start at $100,
Right.
and they go up from there. And all I do is bathe and dry and comb them, and that's it. That's all I do, and clip their toenails and clean, wipe out their ears if need be. Speaking of which, Melissa, I would like to ask you, what do you use to clean cat ears, and when do you clean them?
Well, I always clean them when I'm bathing them, usually either when they're holding on to the side of my little bucket that I have them in the tub, or if I'm doing a table bath. But it's always right about that time when I'm doing the bathing. And all I use is a regular cotton ball and some witch hazel.
Witch hazel. Oh, okay.
And that's it. I don't like commercially prepared ear cleaners and all that alcohol and all that color and all that scent. I just like straight up. I buy the organic witch hazel, and I squirt enough on there that I can swab around in that pinnae, never down in that canal.
Absolutely. That's veterinary territory. Yep.
I never flush ears, but I no longer flush ears on dogs either. I just clean
veterinary
that
territory. Yep.
Right. Clean that area out. And I love witch hazel. It's a great astringent. It has a lot of the same properties, but it also as an alcohol, but it's far less invasive. It's far less drying.
It's a hydrating alcohol. It's a fatty alcohol.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. It's a fatty alcohol.
I always wondered about that. That's interesting. Is that right, Michelle? It's actually a hydrating alcohol.
Some alcohols are very hydrating. And I think we have a misnomer. We have just something in our society when we've heard, alcohol dries.
Yes.
Well, there's all kinds of different kinds of alcohol. So, I mean, some of them are very hydrating within a mixture, or they help that moisturizer go deeper into the skin. So, so there's a lot of things that alcohols do. Those are only two examples. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, I like witch hazel. That's what I clean dogs. I'll do dogs' ears with witch hazel. Also, I use witch hazel to clean those wrinkles on those flat brachicephalic animals. I'll wipe in there. If I see a little spot on the skin that looks like crusty or yucky or whatever, I'll usually clean it first with witch hazel, and then try and let that air dry a little bit and get a better look at it, because that will usually remove the witch hazel will usually break down any gunk, leftover stuff, sebum, whatever, scabby crustiness. So I love witch hazel. So there's my thing.
That's good to know. Do you have special space? Do you separate your cat grooming from your dog grooming? I mean, what's best practice in terms of where?
Well, if you can separate space, that's great. If you can dedicate, the ultimate, like the best case scenario is that the cats actually have their own waiting room and grooming area, and that area should be all one space. So the tub, the drying, and the grooming should all be done in that one small area. Just like the cat wants to stay in that bucket, they like to be in that small area. When you pick them up, they don't like to be off their feet. They do not like to feel like they're off balance. So the more we have to scoop them up and move them here and then take them here and then bring them here, the more upsetting it is for them. Okay?
Yes.
So remember, they're a predator and a prey animal. So territory is a huge thing for them, on top of the fact that they are pheromone-based animals, where they leave pheromones and they process pheromones. So they're 100% the whole time they're in your grooming situation, whether you're in a van or you're in a salon or veterinary office, they are picking up on all those fear pheromones.
And that's why I think the best cat groomer I know in my area, I'm in the suburban Chicago area in Illinois, is Cheryl Woods, who is a major holistic cat groomer. I'm sure you know her, Melissa. and was one of the co-founders of the Holistic Cat Grooming Association. And she's like my hero in everything cat, and so smart. And she does everything house call. She doesn't want to groom cats unless she can keep them in their homes and in their spaces.
And I have to say, when I did house call feline grooming, it was a whole different experience for me as a groomer and for the cat.
Better, meaning it was better.
Yes. Yeah. It was one of those things where I was going, wow, this is really different and different. And different in the sense that I'm not having to, really monitor that stress response very much, because they feel so much more comfortable when they're in their own home. But yes, you're right. That is something that, because they're territorial creatures,
so much more. It's like mobile, right? You can charge a lot more.
Absolutely. And it's, and like I said, it's one of those things where it's trial and error. I mean, I did things wrong for so long because I didn't know any better. And I mean, when I was beginning grooming cats and dogs, I didn't have anybody, like the internet wasn't really there.
Yes.
And so I didn't have the ability to be like, hey Siri, what is this? Or, any of that. Now they have apps. You can take pictures of things and it tells you what it is.
Right.
So, I didn't have those things. So then when people came out of the darkness and were like, hey, I'm doing a show at this trade show, and it's not just about going to buy stuff. And they were actually talking about, it wasn't like going to a 1-hour infomercial for a product. It turned into actual education. I was
people talking about what they're passionate about.
Yes. Then I was all in. Then I was like, okay, now I have the ability to do better, because this person is teaching this person is teaching that. And so, you get the chance to go back and try this stuff and see what works. And it's the same thing for feline grooming. There's not a lot of us feline groomers out there on the forefront. And so we may have different opinions, but that just makes us different. It doesn't make one better or one worse. It just makes us have differing opinions. That's what makes it so great, is that we can go back and forth and say, well, this is what I found. Okay, well, this is what I found. Okay, well, sometimes you have to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But the same thing with the Masters Council. Everybody should be able to have a voice and say what works for them.
However many people we have, they make a beautiful Venn diagram, if those of you who knows what that is. And then the middle is what gets in the addition.
Yes, that's right.
That's how that goes.
I like that. That because grooming is art and science, and
Yes,
there are many ways to do our art, and we can all share a commitment, and should share a commitment to what we know. The fundamentals of things that you can't and shouldn't do with cats, just because of their unique nature. But it's a real joy to work with them, because I find that they can be just as grateful and just as affectionate, and you can tell they feel better from being groomed. That is such a gift, to be able to groom a cat and then have it clearly feeling better at the end.
I have to say that one of the things while I was doing my research was that they found out that cats actually have a portion within their brain that processes emotion, just like humans. And dogs, they haven't been able to pinpoint that yet. I truly believe that animals have emotion, the ability to show emotion.
Because dogs don't have a portion of their brain that's emotional.
Exactly.
It's in their whole body.
Brain and body.
Yeah.
But this specific point in the cat's brain is very similar to ours. And so, and I think that leads into that whole thing, why they are so hypersensitive to things, that their bodies are created with all these tactile hairs coming out of their face and their head and their paw,
Their legs.
their
I
legs,
know,
right?
right?
And all these, scent glands all over that are putting out all these different messages. I think that they are, they're just so much more delicate because I think that they're so much more connected in a different way than a canine is. Not better or worse.
I think they're more in touch with their environment than a dog is.
That's what I mean. And they don't look to us as much for social cues.
Right.
And that makes it tough
They
for
have
us.
an autonomy from us that dogs don't possess.
Right.
Autonomy, I would say that they all think that they're God.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm
the
God.
Egyptians thought so.
And
I
you're
think
my
they're really
staff.
particular. If anybody can remember the video of that snow cat, that snow leopard in the Himalayas somewhere, that they put a camera outside of its lair, and you can see it inside, you just see its eyes, and it is so disturbed by the tiny little field camera. Like I saw how big it was. It was tiny, but it was wrong, and it was in its area, and it comes out, and you see its eyes go.
Yeah.
And then it bats it the hell off of its property. That's one of the best videos of cat behavior. I
have
think,
got
too.
to look that one up.
Yeah, it's just like that one thing out of place, not putting up with it. Not putting up with it at all.
And that's how they really truly are. They really truly like hunker down into their space. And so once they're in that space, that is their domain. And so when we have to remove them from that, and then we douse them in water and product and start brushing, cutting nails, and a lot of them are just kind of like, no, I don't.
Imagine, if you will, that you would go to a foreign land. You don't speak the language. Nobody understands you. Everybody's covered up, you know, and you only have a little tunic on, and then they grab you and then force bathe you and dry you and curl your hair. That would be terrifying. You know what I mean? You would know what was happening, but when it was all done, they're like, well, yeah, you learn, and you're like, oh yeah, I do feel better. But I mean, if you think about it, like that, that would be truly terrifying until it was all over and you were like, oh.
I might need a day or two to process this.
Right?
Right. I like the foreign country analogy. I think I'm going to remember that one. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're wonderful, wonderful creatures. I absolutely adore them, but they are challenging to for us to understand. I think that we connect on more of a emotional and basal kind of primitive level with dogs than we do with cats, because they've always kind of been on the outskirts with us. Even though
I simply find them a different culture. They have their own intelligence because their culture is what it is. A canine culture is very complex and has a much nuance, and so does feline culture. But they're different. So I can't say that one's smarter than the other. They're just different.
No, different. Yeah. So I think that's. I think we covered a good amount of topics tonight.
It's great.
I think you did. I popped in. I didn't want to disrupt, because I wasn't sure of the unsteady internet.
Dara, what are we doing? Are we doing a whole month on cats, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh,
so this one was supposed to be more about the environment, but you did cover that. I didn't want to again interrupt. So you got that. You nailed that.
Yeah, I think
later in the month we've got a couple more coming up to really focus on more tools, products. I did want to go out and say, because you did talk about emu oil, and the shampoo that we use for the cats at our shop is the emu oil based, and
that's a wonderful. I love that.
Yes, I like best shampoo. Oh my gosh, I love it. So. And it works great on the cats, and it's pet very friendly for them.
I don't know a shampoo that is emu oil based. You guys all have to tell me about that one.
Yeah.
Well, we'll save that for a future show.
Yep. So
on products. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got that, and then next month is I think next month is business. What I love best.
Yours is Sarah. So
finally, it's going to be back about me. No.
If I may promo something,
I'll have to get more professional hair.
I think we should all
get business hair.
say what we're up to real quick here at the end. I'm going to be at Pet Quest this weekend in Wilmington, Ohio. I'm going to be doing my 15 coat types seminar and one other that will be a lot of fun on Friday night and Saturday. I'm really looking forward to my first live show since you and I were last all together in Pasadena in February of 2020, right?
Yeah,
so it's been more than a year. So I'm really looking forward to it. And then in 2 weeks after that, Atlanta. I'm going to be in Atlanta speaking there too, which I'm really excited about. So, and I'm debuting my poster, the 15 Coat Types poster, in place of the book, because my mom's in hospice and I'm very busy with her. So the book is going slower than I'd hoped. So I came out in the meantime with a poster, and it's cool.
Good.
Right, Michelle?
Cool.
It's very cool.
Over.
Yeah, Michelle was talking about it earlier before you guys jumped on. So,
it's so visually organized, color-coded. It's great.
It's probably going to become a required periodical in my course. It is so well done.
School. Yay.
And so nice that it will aid the way you conceptualize therapeutics. I think that it's going to do some amazing things. And not just therapeutics, but every other branch that is considered a specialty will benefit from this chart. It is wonderful. I'm glad that somebody had the time, energy, and knowledge to put this chart together in such a one-sheet kind of way. I think it's wonderful.
I've been teaching the high school for 30 years, and I learned, most people learn visually, creating what they call graphic organizers, where you arrange information in a way that actually the visual arrangement of it explains the relationships. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yes. So it's going to be wonderful. I can't wait.
Very good. We just wrapped up Melissa with her or do you have one more day of it?
No, today was the last day. It was my day. So that was the feline master class, skin and coat.
It's great.
So I had that, and then I will be back out teaching in Pasadena. That'll be my first live show back. And then I have subsequent shows after that. So just watch on my website for everything. And I have
Are we all going to be in
different
Pasadena?
summits.
Are we all going to be in Pasadena?
I'm going to be in Pasadena.
The first live show that I plan on is Dallas Classic.
I second that with Michelle also. So that'll be it for me as well.
That so the place that you can see the four of us together live and in person is at the Pet Pro
Classic. Yep.
In Dallas, which will be in the third weekend in October, like 21st of October in Dallas. And they can go to petstylist.com to their event pages to find out more about the classic. Yeah.
Yes.
It'll be great.
Yep. So that'll be it. And I'm back, so I'm gonna start pounding out
our closing credits.
Next week we'll head out, and I will see you ladies on the other side. Does that sound right?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'm not gonna do our countdown because I don't know if it's gonna work.
It's gonna last,
So we'll wrap this show up, and I will see you ladies next Monday back in the office.
And back to our regular time.
We'll see you later. All right, bye, everybody.
Back at our regular time, right?
Yes, back at our regular time.
Okay.
Yep. Have a good night.
Same bat channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Where is my button?
There it is.
And I think we're good. Yep.
Still says we're live.
What is going on?